Okay, good morning, kiddos. So I'm reading Miss Agnes, and I'm on chapter 14. Today, to do this lesson, it might take two videos, so we'll see about that. Chapter 14, when we get to the end of it, is the end of the third quadrant. And we know from reading many other books, when we get to third quadrant, we think about what the turning point is. That turning point is the most important event in that third quadrant. And I'm going to be helping with that. And then at the end of this, I'm going to be doing a little outline for writing a short paragraph about what the turning point is. But I'll be helping about this, and I'll be writing some of the outline at the bottom of this chart. So then you can use that to then write some more thinking for your assignment. Okay, so chapter 14, and I'm on page 89. Some of the kids could read pretty good. Toby Joe was the best one of us younger ones because he would go to Old Man Anderson's and read all the magazines and stuff. And Jimmy Sam could read as good as Miss Agnes, really. But Marie could hardly read at all, and none of us younger ones were much good at it. We read real slow, and big words gave us fits. Selena and Charlie Boy were still learning the alphabet. Miss Agnes gave Jimmy and Toby Joe regular books to read, like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. They just had to practice to go faster, she said. For the rest of us, Miss Agnes did something different. And we keep on reading about that Miss Agnes is not like a normal teacher and that she just gives everyone the same work. She's basically figuring out where the kids are at and giving them the assignments that they need. We had those little books all the other teachers used with Dick, Jane, and Sally in them. They had a mother and a father, and that's what they called them, mother and father. We never heard that before. And there was a kitten named Puff and a dog named Spot, a little brown and white dog low to the ground with floppy ears. They lived in a town with lots of trees along a cement road, and the houses were really big. All they did was play, those kids. The boy had short pants on, and the girl had yellow hair and a ribbon in the hair. I think those kids were flesh-colored, like the crayon. When you read these books, it was kind of embarrassing. Look, look, look. See Spot run. They talk kind of stupid like that. I remember reading these books as a kid, and I thought they were dumb too. Nothing really happened in them. And I think the kids, what Fred is talking about, is the kids don't look like me. The houses don't look like where she lives. And so they don't have much interest for her. So Miss Agnes didn't want us to read those books. But Marie, she liked them. She liked to look at the pictures, and Bertha and me did too. I like to think about living in a place like that, where everything was so clean and fancy, and they had a bedroom all for themselves, those kids. I would like to have a mother like that too, always smiling and making something good to eat, milk and cookies. She always gave them. Well, I don't like milk, but the cookies would be very nice. So Miss Agnes put those books away, and she made some other little books for us to read, a different one for each of us. Just little pieces of paper stapled together, but the thing about those books was they were about us. My book said this: there was once a little girl named Fred. Her real name was Frederica, and she lived on the Kukukik River with her mother, Anna, and her sister, Boko. And there was more about me, and Boko playing and stuff, and our grandma, what we did for work, like washing the dishes and bringing in the wood. So she's writing these little stories about each of her students, and this would have interest for the children. It was so good. I read it over and over, and that's how I learned those words. These books had an interest to the children. Then every few days, Miss Agnes would write me another book with those words in them and more harder words. She wrote one for Marie about how she'd grow up and get married and have a whole bunch of kids and how she would cook and all that. Marie loved her book. When she read it, she'd get sort of pink in her cheeks, and you could see that Miss Agnes had written for her a life she wanted to have. Even if she had to take care of her mama's kids so much, she wanted some of her own. She was just like that. So I like this about Miss Agnes. She takes Marie where she's at and gives her something to dream for. Pretty soon we were reading each other's books, and then we'd tell Miss Agnes what to put in each book for everyone. She'd write down the things we said. And that's how we got along in our reading. Miss Agnes would make those little books for us, and when we knew them by heart, she'd give us new ones. It was easier learning to read that way. Seemed like none of the words never were hard that way, because these books were interesting to the kids, and they wanted to read them, and so they worked harder at it. And then she'd make us write stories, because she said that writing was reading backwards, and you learn to read by writing just as well as reading backwards. We thought that was very funny. Miss Agnes is right, though. There is a connection between reading and writing. So she's a smart one, Miss Agnes. Miss Agnes said not to worry about the spelling, just write. Sometimes I say that too, don't I? Anything we wanted to, even if we made up stuff. It didn't have to be true. I really like that, to make up pretend stories. She gave us each a little notebook, and any word we needed for our story, she would write for us in that notebook. That was our own little dictionary, and that's the way we learned to spell. Boca would tell her story with signs to Miss Agnes, and she would write it on paper for her. And so we'd do that every day, and then we'd read our stories out loud to the rest of the kids. Some of them were pretty funny. Marie wrote one about getting her long hair caught in the wringer on the washing machine, and how her head was already pulled up to the place the clothes squeezed through before she got the washer shut off. Little Pete wrote about the time a mama moose chased him up a tree when he was at fish camp, because she thought he might hurt her baby. I like to write all the stuff Grandpa told me about those old days, and once I wrote all about old man Anderson's life. He had a lot of interesting things happen to him. I asked him a lot of questions and put the answers in my story, and he was just proud of that. Best of all, I like to write about sort of magic things, like in the fairy stories. Magic snowshoes that would take you anywhere, and pills you could take to learn everything without even studying it. Stuff like that. Writing stories was what I was good at. Miss Agnes said everyone was good at something. And when we asked her to tell us what we were good at, that's what she told me. Charlie Boy was good at sign language, and Jimmy was good at science. Selena was good at drawing, and Roger was good at airplanes. Kenny was good at music, and Bertha was good at printing and cursive. Little Pete was good at making people feel happy, and Marie was good at running the house and dancing. Plasker was good at geography. Toby was good at reading, and Boko was good at sewing. When she got to me, she said, Fred notices everything about everyone, what they say and do and look like, and what they're feeling. So she's good at writing stories. We were all happy to hear what we were good at. I couldn't wait to tell Grandpa what she said about me. I was just proud. Now, believe it or not, in this last little part, we have a turning point, and I'm going to write it right here. It's an important event. It's at the very end. So, Miss Agnes. I always spell Agnes, and I'm going to get this font the right way, the way I want it, and the color I want. And I'll go bigger so we can see it. Miss Agnes tells all the children what they are good at. Didn't spell children right, did I? Ms. B's gift is not spelling, is it? She says that Fred is is good at writing and remembering details. And let's see, this makes Fred feel proud. We see that at the very end. Okay, all the children loved hearing what they were good at. But in this way, Fred is learning what she's good at, and that she's good at writing and remembering things and giving details. Now, this is the most important event because this is about Fred. And Fred is our main character. Even though we're learning a lot about how Miss Agnes is interacting with the children and how she's impacting the children, the main character is Fred because she's the one telling the story. So this most important event is something that is about Fred. Okay, now I'm going to stop here. Actually, let me put, this is page, that's page 95. And I'm going to put here turning point. Okay, so the most important event, and I'm even going to put it in a different color so that we really get this. Let's see, we'll go red. Okay, now I'm going to stop here with this video, but then I'm going to pick back up and we're going to be working on an essay, actually a paragraph together. Okay, I'll be back in just a bit.